When thinking about entering business awards, do you think, no, I'm not good enough? Think again. Too new in business. There are often categories which can be for you. Some awards can be easy, some are more difficult to get to the finalist stage. There's also many a scam to watch out for and navigate your way through. Today, let's talk about entering awards and what you need to know. Welcome to the FAQ Business Podcast for business owners, covering 4 pillars: actionable education, inspiring leaders, businesses like you, and thought leadership, where we challenge your thinking. Hosted by myself, Jane Tweedy, I'm founder and lead trainer of FAQ Business Training, where we want to avoid you getting ripped off or ripping yourself off. We'll feature an amazing diversity of guests with lots to educate and inspire you. Let's jump into today's episode of the FAQ Business Podcast. Hi, I'm Jane Tweedy from FAQ Business Training and host of the FAQ Business Podcast and award winner. Today, I want to give you some tips about what awards to consider entering, the issues to watch out for, and the benefits of entering awards. Firstly, I'm going to get the scam issue out the way. As you know, our mission at FAQ Business is to avoid you getting ripped off because of what you didn't know you didn't know. You'll want to avoid scams as they'll cost you money, time, may threaten your cybersecurity, and you could lose your credibility. I get on Instagram pretty much daily, fake accounts with no followers and no post, telling you to contact another account on Instagram, be one of the top 30 coaches in the NYC Journal or something similar. Sounds cool, right? It's not a real publication. Well, it's a publication created for the purpose. There is a publication, but not something people would actually go out and buy or has any reputation attached. They, of course, will ask you for information, money for it to be assessed, and then maybe publication costs, an expectation to promote, suckering in more people. Are you really ready to do this to the world? Do you want to put yourself up for that? Clearly it's fake. Don't do it. Even Amazon bestseller status is a little bit fake. It's really easy to manipulate it and get yourself on the bestseller list. Do you know that technically I'm an Amazon bestseller author for a book that I don't even want to acknowledge, due to a shocking publishing experience with a scam publisher? That's a whole nother podcast episode. There are plenty of awards. For instance, Precedent runs a number of awards. They are completely legitimate, but are possibly going too far. For instance, the Australian Small Business Champion Awards, back in 2020, I was excited to be a finalist in the business services category. But then you realise there are about 20 finalists. But okay, it's Australia-wide, so I guess that's still pretty impressive. This year, things have been somewhat watered down. There were 3,500 nominations, and I think, cool, I got finalist. However, they added 100 industry categories to already about 30 or so categories they had. So now, if there's like 15 or 20 finalists in each category, I'm guessing that's over 1,500 finalists, about half of the nominations. Still tiny when you consider there's 2.4 million businesses in Australia. But by the time I went to share my finalist news, I was almost embarrassed to put it up, because who didn't get through to finalists? All my friends seem to. I feel it's lost some of its appeal, or maybe I just have an amazing peer group and we were all completely deserving. Let's run with that one. They've also now added a women's version this year, and they also run the local business awards here in Australia. More opportunities to be a winner and a finalist, and it's mostly via self-nomination. Self-nomination is how most awards are entered. Nominate yourself. Sometimes a customer can nominate you, but you still need to accept that nomination and complete the details. I have received such nominations in the past, and in some cases I accepted them, and in some, like Ozmumpreneur, I didn't, because I would have felt like a fraud and taking the award away from a real mum. I'm very much a part-time stepmum and full-time mum to my fur babies. Although technically I was eligible, I didn't feel it was for me. Plus the mumpreneur tag, oh, that's a whole nother podcast right there. Many awards require the nominee to enter details, so often there's no choice apart from self-nominating. There's an awards at the moment where people are celebrating being a nominee, and I'm like, why would you if you self-nominated? Maybe they didn't. Maybe they were genuinely nominated by someone else and wanted to share that someone thought enough of them to do so. That's cool. However, I would also agree to someone celebrating because they're entering as a nominee for the first time. They finally put themselves out there. Because for some people, that's a big hurdle to overcome and it needs to be celebrated. So, okay, maybe I'd caveat this one. Externally nominated or brave enough to do it for the first time, great. Sometimes you have to say you're a nominee or up for consideration because you need to ask people for votes. This applies to the local business awards. Celebrating being a finalist, I get, because you've either been chosen by your peers or by a panel of judges. Nominating yourself for the local business awards is pretty easy, and it's easy enough to get yourself through to the final stage for many of the categories, with enough of some following from clients or a decent social media presence. So all you do is nominate yourself for the local business awards. To make finalists, you simply need enough votes in your category. The number of finalists varies. I've seen from 4 to over 20 in a category. So it's pretty easy to get there. Some categories will of course be harder. Choose your category. For instance, I initially went for professional services, competing with an accountant that was always up there. In education, the winner of the prior 2 years had actually closed. So by switching over to education, I had more of a chance. Competing against the driving school and first aid and things, there was only one other business trainer. The terms are kind of loose though, because I was also competing with things like accountants and professional services. But some categories are crazy. I'm thinking, how do you compare a driving school to me? But how would you compare all the sole traders or specialized businesses together? That's crazy. I can see why the Australian Small Business Champion Awards might have added categories. A hairdresser category versus a sole trader category. It could be anything. So it's hard to work out who's deserving. I've looked sometime at the entrance and gone, oh yeah, they deserve to win. And then look, they deserve to win. How would you judge those categories? So hard. The full local business awards process is as follows. You nominate yourself and set yourself up a profile. When voting opens for your area, you ask for people to vote for you, reminding them to click on the email to confirm their vote. Finalists are then selected if you get enough votes. What is enough? They don't tell us, and it does change each year. A few years ago, there were only 5 finalists in one of the area's sole trader category. In other years, there's 20. So don't let those possibly big categories scare you off. They do send you a pretty finalist pack too if you get there. Once at the finalist stage, you will be asked about 11 questions, the history of the business, services you provide, philosophy, staff achievements, stuff like that. The best thing about this exercise, and one of the best things about entering awards, is it gets you to stop and reflect and think about your business and the good stuff you've done, not just focusing on what you didn't achieve. Then they have a Gala Awards dinner. Prices went up a lot last year. It's $250 for my area. The Australian Small Business Champion Awards this year are $350 a ticket. Quite a lot for a small business. However, running an awards dinner is not cheap. Between the venue, audio-visual, dinner, drinks, the awards, entertainment, decor, the price tag is substantial. Plus, for both the local business awards and the Australian Small Business Champion Awards, you do not pay to enter. The only entry cost is the awards dinner ticket and sponsors. Don't tell your team you're taking them until you find out the price. Good little tip there. The good news with the above awards is that you don't have to attend to be in the running to win. You are actually chosen on merit at that finalist stage. I really like this, and it gives me a lot more feeling of legitimacy. However, I asked someone just this week why she wanted people to attend the awards dinner to be in it to win it, and she said it was because the awards lose a lot when people aren't there to accept. And you think about it, it's true. Even at the Oscars, if someone isn't there, it's a bit of a letdown when they say, so-and-so won the award and we accepted on their behalf. No tears, no gaffes, no statements, no nothing, no even as they pull you off to the side with the music playing. A lot of awards require you to attend in order to be in the running to win, and I think many are not doing it for that reason. It is purely revenue generating and to help cover costs. Makes me feel a bit ick towards some of them. Personally, I think more awards should charge more for entries to help spread the cost of evaluating the entries, marketing and administration of the awards, and the awards themselves amongst more participants. Again, I don't think many people appreciate how much these costs actually are. Some, it wasn't just the dinner, it was a conference or something you had to attend to. For me, it's not just the money, it's time and it's travel too. You're not getting the best of the best. It's the best of a select few. I tend to avoid these ones. On LinkedIn, I was sent a message to say, congratulations, you've been nominated as Top Coach of the Year. There were so many major ethics issues with this one. You know who nominated you, like it was a happy client or something. No, it was you who scraped LinkedIn for coaches and sent this message to me. But it was in reading the fine print that I was really disgusted. You could accept the nomination, and if you were a finalist, you had to agree not to just buy a ticket for you, but an entire table at an undisclosed cost. Based on those numbers earlier, you'd be looking at $1,500 to $3,500. That just feels wrong, and if it feels wrong, don't do it. I certainly wasn't the only one that balked at the idea and told them so, because they actually ended up cancelling the awards. It was just not legitimate. Often we go for industry awards. They're a lot more credible. The most relevant of them could be things like industry associations, where the entire database can be given that opportunity to be a winner. But typically, all awards are a subset only. We had advisor awards, and they were purely based on case studies. No case studies, no entry to the awards. In all awards, you're never really the best. You're always best of the subset. Who were eligible, who accepted entry, who paid to enter the event if it was required. The Stevie Awards are quite prestigious international awards, but to me they're more like a benchmarking or certification than an award. They have some free categories during the COVID period, but for the normal paid awards, you choose your award category, submit your quite substantial fee, and then you would be assessed. Once you reach a certain standard, you will get, say for instance, a gold award or a silver award, but it means you've attained that level, not that you're the best of everybody, for instance. But you do you. Does that feel right to you? And I think, hey, a benchmark is still a really cool thing to have achieved. You can also volunteer to be a judge for these awards. Bear in mind that means anyone else could too. So the judges of these awards are getting your intel and your ideas, and it could be an issue for you. You could treat yourself as more of a community inspiration or giving away trade secrets. Would you have done that if you knew that? Again, it's something to consider. The application process is a really good time to review and reflect on your business. Some do, though, ask for quite a lot of confidential information. In one case years ago, it wasn't actually for an awards, but rather they were looking for an award-winning idea. You pitched your idea and the top one won $25,000. However, all the other entries were now owned by the organization to do with what they wanted. What a cheap way to get new innovation in a big business. And again, an example where you really need to read that fine print. Make sure you know what the information you're providing will be used for, in addition to any judging for the awards. With many awards, including things like Raw and Osmumpreneur, they help and encourage you to ask for press releases. You'd think it might be a slow news day to run a story in some of these cases, but if it helps you get your message out and you have an angle and it works, why not? If your story has enough angle, then please share your story. I have seen people get successful public relations for the most trivial of things. Some people change their profile photo to the finalist image from the awards. And that's all cool, because honestly, Joe Blow in the public doesn't know how easy or hard that finalist award was to obtain. Shop front finalist signs put in their window. The Precedent Run Awards make this really easy for you because they give you a pretty little pack. What category or categories should you enter? Where possible, look back at past entries. In the Australian Small Business Champion Awards, Performing arts split out to music schools, for instance, so the new category might be more appropriate. I wasn't sure whether professional services was more suited or educational services, and I found peers in both. So I went for the one, honestly, I thought I had more chance of winning. Why not? Some awards will have a condition of entry forcing you to promote the awards. Do you want your name associated with it? If you don't feel comfortable, don't go for it. However, in some cases, it actually forces you to take an action and sharing your wins, which is actually a good thing to do in your business. I was at an awards where the category winner became the overall winner for the night, and yet their acceptance speech sort of indicated they were on the brink of closure. I'm not sure that's the greatest reflection of an expectation of the best. It could be that they had amazing service or product, but their business was actually failing. I've seen people win who other people could easily have beaten. The best of the entrants win. Just like Lotto, you've got to be in it to win it. Don't know what to say? There are award writers out there who can do it for you. People like Erin Huckle. However, it is pretty easy to do it yourself. I do my own, and I made it to the finalist stage and was winner of the 2021 Penrith Local Business Awards for Educational Services. Honestly, the key thing to do is to follow instructions. I think you should be putting the entry together yourself, quite honestly. Some are now asking for videos to make sure it is actually you. Make sure all the information you include is correct and be careful of adding superlatives that just don't apply to you. Answer the questions as asked. Follow any guidelines they give you to tell you what to include in those answers. Can you add attachments? Do so if they are relevant to your application. Too many people fail in their submission because they didn't answer the questions correctly and instead waffled on randomly. Keep a file of the answers, as most awards have very similar questions. Keep a record especially of the award-winning answers to use as your base going forward. If you do pay a writer, make sure you have the right to use or regurgitate the content for future awards. They own the copyright and they may have only given you a single-use license of it. Keep entering awards. You may not get a yes that first time around, so keep going. If you did get to the finalist stage or win, and even sometimes the nomination stage like we talked about earlier, market it. I was sitting next to a gold sponsor from CBA and even he said milk it. Use it for publicity, get credibility, and use it for social proof. You can say award winning on your socials, your website, your pitch decks. It sounds good. So in summary, make sure the awards are legitimate and credible. Make sure you be proud to associate your name with the awards. Weigh up the time versus the cost in completing your application, remembering it is a good way to review your business and it does get easier as you do it. Leverage your time by applying for more awards and retain those answers in that file to use them again next time. Use your success for social proof, feeling worthy, and give yourself that pat on the back. When are you going to be entering your first awards or revisiting how you've entered the past ones? Thanks so much for listening in to this award winner on the FAQ Business Podcast. Thank you for listening to today's episode of the FAQ Business Podcast. Available on all good podcast services, you can subscribe today via faqbusinesspodcast.com.au. Subscribe, follow, share, and where able, review our podcast. We look forward to inspiring and educating you again on the FAQ Business Podcast.